sleeping again.
The film opens on a house filled with blood. We then flash back 3 months to find Emily visiting her husband, Martin, in prison. This is their final meeting before his release the next day. A flashback reveals Martin's arrest for insider trading 4 years prior. For those unfamiliar, insider trading is a fraudulent way to make money on the stock market. The government seized Martin's home and assets, leaving Emily to struggle for the past 4 years, barely getting by and working a single job. On the day of his release, Emily, accompanied by Martin's mother, goes to pick him up. Emily wasn't just alone. She was feeling depressed. One day, while backing out of a parking spot, she drives straight into a wall. She is taken to the hospital. Although she has no major physical injuries, a psychiatrist named Jonathan Banks is sent to assess her mental state, as it's considered a suicide attempt. Jonathan recommends she stay in the hospital, but Emily refuses, explaining her husband just got out of jail and she needs to work. She promises Jonathan she won't attempt suicide again and will see him at his office weekly. Jonathan contacts Martin and his mother, informing them of Emily's depression and recommending medication to help. However, even after returning home and taking the medicine, Emily's depression doesn't improve. At work one day, the medication makes her vomit, and her boss sees. Her boss mentions that Emily had been depressed before and these medications can cause vomiting. Emily then goes to Jonathan's office. She opens up to him about her past, her loneliness, and how Martin's imprisonment led her to a previous psychiatrist, Victoria. Jonathan decides to consult with Victoria for more information. Victoria confirms Emily's depression and suggests a new drug on the market, Abilixa. She advises Jonathan to prescribe it. Jonathan, however, gives Emily a different medication on his own. That same day, Martin takes Emily to a music concert, but she has another depressive episode, and her condition worsens. Martin takes her home. The next day, at an underground train station, Emily sees an ad for the new drug, Abilixa. Still very upset, she looks at a policeman before moving toward the train tracks. The officer, sensing her intentions, stops her. Believing Jonathan's medications are ineffective, Emily tries to see him at his office, but he's not there. She calls him to a restaurant and asks for a prescription for the new drug, Abilixa. She explains that she cannot get the medication herself without a psychiatrist's prescription and that her friend, Julia, at work had benefited from it. Jonathan finally prescribes the Abilixa. The medication has an immediate positive effect on Emily. She feels energetic and her depression is gone. At the same time, Jonathan secures a lucrative contract with a pharmaceutical company, a significant career achievement. Emily starts to experience a side effect from the Abilixa, sleepwalking. One night, she suddenly starts playing loud music and making tea in the kitchen. Martin finds her and realizes she is sleepwalking. In the morning, Emily has no memory of the event. The next day, Emily and Martin return to Jonathan's office. Martin explains Emily's sleepwalking and asks for a change in her medication. Emily insists on continuing the Abilixa, saying it's at least helping her with the depression. So Jonathan prescribes another medication to prevent her from sleepwalking. The next night, Martin returns home and finds a table set for dinner. He realizes Emily is sleepwalking and goes to the kitchen. He finds her silent and asleep. This is where the film's big twist occurs. While sleepwalking and cutting vegetables, Emily suddenly stabs Martin, repeatedly attacking him until he dies. She watches him die and then falls asleep. The following morning, she wakes up with no memory of the event and calls the police, reporting her husband's death. The police arrive and also contact Jonathan. They tell him that there were plates for 3 people that night and ask if he was there. Jonathan denies this, suggesting Emily did it while sleepwalking. The police officer states someone will be punished, either Emily, for a deliberate murder, or Jonathan, for negligence in his treatment. Jonathan meets with Emily's lawyer, hired by Martin's mother. The lawyer believes Emily was sleepwalking because she had waited 4 years for Martin to be released. Emily's lawyer asks Jonathan to testify as their witness and convince the court that a sleepwalker is not conscious of their actions and that Emily was a victim with no motive to kill her husband. The lawyer adds that in similar cases, people have been acquitted. Jonathan is now in a bind and starts to doubt himself, questioning whether he was negligent in giving her the new medication. But Emily's former psychiatrist, Victoria, reassures Jonathan that he is not at fault and that no one can predict what a patient will do in such a state. Martin's mother meets with Emily, trusting that she loved Martin dearly. Emily tells Martin's mother that this tragedy happened because of the new medication and that she doesn't want it to happen to anyone else. She gives her a letter to be delivered to a news channel. The letter warns people not to take the new medication. Immediately after, Emily and Abelixa's story is broadcast on TV. Jonathan's name is also mentioned as the prescribing doctor. Jonathan's mother and his other patients begin to question his treatment, and the media swarms him. A medical officer even investigates him for professional negligence. For Emily to be released from court, she has to plead mentally unstable and be committed to a hospital for treatment. Emily agrees in court. The train station guard also testifies, confirming Emily's suicide attempt. Jonathan also testifies that Emily was not conscious at the time, and the court releases her on the condition that she undergoes treatment at a government hospital. Emily is then sent to the hospital. Meanwhile, this case is ruining Jonathan's reputation. The pharmaceutical company that hired him for testing fires him. Jonathan is now in a bad financial situation. On top of that, the media spreads fake news about an affair with Emily, straining his relationship with his wife. Extremely worried, Jonathan begins to research the new drug, Abelixa, and finds an online article. This is where a major twist in the movie occurs. He finds an article on a site about the sleepwalking side effect of Abelixa written by Emily's old psychiatrist, Victoria. Jonathan is confused. If Victoria knew about this side effect, why did she insist he give it to Emily? He confronts Victoria at her office, but she denies it. During their conversation, he also learns that Victoria knew about Emily's multiple suicide attempts. The only people who knew this were Jonathan, Emily, and Emily's husband. Victoria makes an excuse, claiming she learned it from the news. Jonathan starts investigating everything from the beginning. He goes to the same parking lot where Emily crashed her car. The guard tells him Emily had her seatbelt on. Jonathan finds it strange that someone would wear a seatbelt if they intended to kill themselves. He goes to Emily's office for further investigation and discovers that safety seatbelt ads are shown daily there. He also learns from her boss that no one named Julia works there. The friend Emily claimed was cured by the medicine. Jonathan now understands that Emily saw the seatbelt advertisement, intentionally wore one, and faked the suicide attempt. She also manipulated him into prescribing the medicine. To confirm his suspicions, he visits Emily in the hospital but doesn't let on that he is suspicious of her. He notices that Emily is now well, even without medication. She tells him she is ready to go home. Emily could only leave the hospital if Jonathan testified in court that she was completely fine. Back home, Jonathan becomes certain that Emily orchestrated everything. He also notices that when the story about Emily and Abelixa was on TV, the shares of the new Abelixa company and the stocks of rival companies had risen. This could be a well-planned scheme. Jonathan goes to the police and tells them everything, but the inspector says that by law, a person who has been acquitted cannot be punished for the same crime again. The inspector points out that it was Jonathan's fault for not realizing Emily was faking her depression and tells him to move on. Jonathan listens and goes home. He then remembers seeing Victoria's name on the hospital's visitor list, so he figures out that she has also been meeting with Emily. He goes to Victoria's house and tells her that he knows everything and will expose her. He then returns home to find that Victoria had sent photos to his house of him meeting Emily at the restaurant. The pictures made it look like they were having an affair. Jonathan's wife sees the photos and leaves with their son. Everything is now confirmed for Jonathan. Emily and Victoria set him up. Afterward, Victoria meets Jonathan and threatens to give the photos to the media if he doesn't stop interfering. His medical license would be revoked. Jonathan, however, devises his own plan. He lies to Victoria, telling her that Emily has already confessed everything and that it would be best for her to leave the city. Jonathan then calls Victoria to meet him at the hospital, deliberately choosing the location so that Emily will see them. Before the meeting, he also lies to Emily, telling her that Victoria wants to drive her crazy in the hospital and is paying him a lot of money to do so. When Victoria comes to meet him, Jonathan purposely brings a large bag to make it look like he is receiving money. Emily sees the meeting and believes Jonathan. In their next meeting, she tells Jonathan she will tell him the truth and will help him expose Victoria if he gets her out of the hospital, since his previous testimony is the only thing keeping her there. Jonathan agrees. Emily then tells Jonathan the whole story. She married Martin for his money, and when he was arrested, she had nothing left. She then met a psychiatrist, Victoria, who had also been cheated by her husband. The two fell in love, and Emily told Victoria about insider trading. They planned that Emily would fake depression to get rid of Martin. Victoria taught Emily how to fake the condition. Emily's every action was an act, like intentionally wearing a seat belt in the parking lot during the staged accident and looking strangely at the policeman at the train station so he would stop her. The policeman's testimony would then prove she was a victim of depression. Then they planned to take advantage of the new company. When Emily told the media to stay away from the medication, its shares plummeted, which Victoria knew would happen, allowing her to make a lot of money. Jonathan, upholding his end of the bargain, testifies that Emily is completely fine, and she is released on the condition that she meet with him weekly. If her mental health worsens, she will be committed again. Emily then goes to Victoria with a microphone, gets her to confess everything, and has her arrested. Jonathan then seeks revenge on Emily. He calls her to his office and intentionally prescribes a medicine with dangerous side effects. Emily leaves in anger and runs into Martin's mother outside, who has just learned that Emily deliberately killed her son. She slaps Emily. Jonathan has her committed again, and this time she is truly going crazy. In the final scene, Jonathan has gotten his revenge on both of them, and his wife and son have returned to him.